All right, we'll be back from that break, and many thanks for joining us. We're into our last half of the discussion and our last half of the show. You're watching Smart Means Business here. We're three now. Joram Paul Sonko, Andrew Barite, and Rona Nahawe on set this morning. Rona is taking us through what is happening within the world of business and pretty much what you should be able to expect tonight in the bulletin at 9 p.m. Rona, take this away.
So what I'm going to be working on today is Insurance Week, this year's Insurance Week, and the theme this year is to sensitize and educate more Ugandans to penetrate into the insurance sector. We all know that the insurance penetration in Uganda is still below 1%. Due to perceptions of people thinking that if they insure with companies, maybe the losses won't be accounted for, or it's pointless. But insurance, in definition, helps to de-risk your business from losses. Transfers your potential losses to an insurance company where you can be charged at a fee, of course. Okay. But in regards to Uganda, the insurance penetration, like I said, is still low compared to other countries. So this year's theme, I hope, is able to achieve some results in regards to sensitization and education.
Mary J, your take on insurance? Of course, Ugandans in this country, maybe Ugandans based in the diaspora, or those who are actually working out of the country, do take insurance as a key driver of things, and they understand the emphasis or the importance of insurance. But for most of the Ugandans in here, and of course the business community more so, not everybody wants to take on insurance covers. Where do you think the problem is?
Well, I would think, insurance, of course, we know it's quite a very basic factor, but the aspect is only one. The consistency in terms of clearing those fees which you have to pay. That's the, however much we sensitize the Ugandans about that, they have the capability. It all takes down the insurance companies to get down on ground, because the true Ugandan is not the Ugandan in Kampala. The actual Ugandan is the Ugandan down there in the village that faces the reality of life. Because the 1% actually, don't be surprised that the uptake, these are people within the urban region, yes, they are sensitized, but they have the capability, they have the financial muscle to clear this. It all comes back to how, recently, I remember one of the banks had a deal with a certain insurance company, one of the famous banks, and this was a way to keep the customers, and it was one of its kind, so that makes it easy for the customers of that bank to access the insurance services of that because of that corporation, and there is a subsidized fee. This was a family insurance, it was Absa and Prudential, if I'm to say that. That was last year. I covered that report. I remember that, and that was something very soon. How I wish we have more of that, and it's very friendly and reaching out. But that is that's one kind of a partnership, and that's why you see that not so many Ugandans, they know about insurance and they know why they need it, but they don't have the muscle.
Okay, and of course, Andrew believes that they know why they need it, and I'll stand to say no, they don't. Obviously, not everybody knows why they need that insurance cover.
But they have done sensitizations.
Yes, the sensitization has been there, but there's been less sensitization in the informal sector, because the people in the formal sector are getting into insurance as anything that they have to do because it is more like a mandate or a priority. It's just like today you tell somebody to open up an account in the bank, it's just because they want to receive salary and they have to open it up, not because they want to save their money in a bank anyway. So I do believe it's the same issue with insurance, because the first problem with it is that most people in the first incident thought insurance is more like an investment, whereby if I save my money there, I'm definitely going to get a profit. And when you look at some people, I've got to at least ask some of the few drivers in town the reason as to why they find it challenging to pay for just third-party insurance, which rotates around 70 to 80,000 Ugandan shillings. That is dependent. For a personal vehicle that is a 7-seater, maybe around 65 to 75. But the reason is some of them say even if I pay for it annually, there is literally nothing, it doesn't cover me. So you can easily see that kind of mindset.
I think there is still a chance, or maybe for the regulatory authority to do so much more in regards to sensitization.
Exactly.
Like you said, recently, I would like to use an example of the Chiseke market.
Yes.
How many of those businesses were insured, if we were to ask?
You may find out that none of them are.
None. So what I know is the Insurance Regulatory Authority has packages for the informal sector, SMEs in particular.
Sure.
But how do they access them? Do they know about them? What is the penetration? Some of these people, their mindset might just be minimal,
Yes.
restricted to just what they know. But
And
I hope
are they the target market anyway? Because
And-
sometimes you realize
yeah.
maybe even the insurance companies don't even target these people anyway.
maybe perhaps
That's
they
the-
target the bigger ones
bigger
because
ones.
they know they'll be able
That's
to
the
make.
financial muscle I was speaking about.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, do these people have the capability to pay? You know, it's remember it's a fee you pay. You know, you pay it consistently to make your package active. So you have to feed your package.
No, it's not that. If you have a package that is targeting a certain market, you always create a package that is fit for people. That is why, for example, when you look at DSTV, you get to realize that they have different packages. There is one for a low-income person, there is one for someone who earns highly, and this is to create room for anyone to at least fit in the same age bracket, or rather to fit in that same basket, not to leave anyone besides. So the financial muscle aspect goes back to the kind of target market you have, or what packages you offer for these people.
Right.
If you're offering a package for someone who earns, for example, 200,000 per month, and they have their package, why not? If they want to take it on. So the sensitization needs to be done. And lastly, Rona, by the look of things here, what else is happening in the insurance week? What normally happens in the insurance week?
In regards to tomorrow being Women's Day, let me just juxtapose it. I'm really hoping to look at the penetration of women in particular.
Okay.
Last week I covered a story where these women were struggling with digital literacy. So if they are struggling with digital literacy, imagine for insurance. So, and I'm also hoping that there is a story away from insurance, because these are big sector players. If we're talking about marine insurance, we're talking about motor vehicle, we have seen something about automobile innovations and stuff, Kira Motors. So I'm hoping that I can get a story, perhaps, since these are big players, away from insurance itself. And I hope that this sensitization, like I said, is of impact to the intended audience.
Okay, and of course now we're heading into our on-ground conversations, in which I would ask the two here, gentlemen and lady, to at least give me one of just an opinion. Yesterday, the IGG and the Speaker to Parliament were apparently exchanging details to do with them declaring wealth, the declaration of their wealth. And of course, on our on-ground conversations rotating around this issue of declaration of wealth, whereby the public officials and then of course those in the public service and the ministers have to declare their wealth to at least show that the money they are using is mainly coming in from their personal assets and not swindling government funds in one way or the other. What is your take on that?
I do believe that is a very good move, and in regards to transparency and curbing corruption.
Okay.
The point is, why don't we know these details? They are
Exactly.
remained with the IGG.
Because if they say transparency, they should have put it out there.
Yeah, it makes the meaning, transparent. It's seen evidently by all eyes, but that is it's opaque.
Well, and now on ground this morning we have Dr. Patricia Achan Okiria, who is the Deputy Inspector General of Government, giving us more details regarding declaration of wealth. Although the bigger portion still remains the issue of transparency. The case in point in Kenya last year, they apparently had a live broadcast in Parliament where millions of Kenyans were seeing their public officials and ministers publicly declaring their wealth. So that Kenyans know of their worth before they even put them in positions of power. Well, we do hope it does happen in the near future for our Ugandan people anyway. But let's get this in our SMV on ground here.
How much allowances or emoluments you obtain from government annually, how much land you have or property, and liabilities like vehicles and so on. So that is basically what we declare, and the process is online using the online declaration form. So what happened here today, the people who declared had already filled that online declaration form. recorded all the numbers of the assets they have, where they have it, and what size they are, the incomes, and so on. So this was just a process to submit that form to the Speaker, Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament. How much have we recovered so far from the leaders? And where is this function supposed to take place? And what do we do about the leaders who defy the provisions of the Leadership Code Act? Now, the law clearly stipulates that the Inspector General of Government and the Deputy Inspector General of Government shall declare their incomes, assets and liabilities to the Speaker of Parliament, which is provided for under Section 31, Clause 7 of the Leadership Code Act. And that is the reason why we are here today, to demonstrate that responsibility of leadership, especially when it comes to being compliant with the declaration. How much have we so far recovered? We normally take the people who have defied the provisions of the law. We submit their cases to the Leadership Code Tribunal, and the Leadership Code Tribunal adjudicates and prosecutes them for their defiance. I wouldn't say I have statistics offhand right here, but what I know, we have so far submitted approximately 45 leaders to the Leadership Code Tribunal for prosecution. But going forward, I think because we have made this declaration period public and we are doing as much publicity, I know we are going to be able to get a lot more. And in terms of recovery, what have we recovered? We have recovered like property abused or misused by leaders out there, and we have put them to task to pay back the value worth the damage done to the vehicles or property. So the details of which are with the Leadership Code Tribunal, which is a public tribunal, and members of the public can sit and listen to what happens. They also prepare their reports and submit to Parliament. What do we do to leaders who defy the provisions of the Leadership Code Act? Again, there are penalties within the law. There are leaders who can be dismissed from work, demoted from work, and there are penalties that's provided for within the law. Others can be asked to pay fine or refund whatever loss it is. On verifications of assets, what are the challenges we face as IG when it comes to verification of assets? When it comes to verifications, like now we are receiving declarations. This period from 1st March to 2023 to 31st March, we are expected to receive about 34,000 declarations. Now, 34,000 declarations is quite a big number for the Inspectorate of Government, and we are charged with the responsibility of conducting verifications as well. Now, when it comes to verifications, it requires a lot more work because we are now doing detailed background checks to ensure and ascertain whether what someone declared is commensurate with his well-known sources of incomes. And in so doing, we come across people who have under-declared. You have 21 houses, you have declared only 2. You have said one is in Chiboga, your village home, and one is here in the city, or it's in Tinda, or wherever. And yet, when we do verifications, we discover you're paying utility bills, you're paying umeme, you're paying for water, you're paying rental tax, and so on. We then discover that, hey, this leader actually has a lot more than he declared. So that is an offense and is punishable under the law. There is another offense for over-declaring, declaration in anticipation, where someone sits and thinks that, okay, I think by 2023 March, I will be able to acquire this much. And he fills it in the form as if he has already acquired it. That is over-declaration, and it is an offense within the law. And also not declaring is an offense within the law. So when doing verifications, the challenges we have are resource-related, because verifications need the technical people to go down on the ground to ascertain whether these declarations are truthful or not truthful. So this is where we require a lot more funding. Last calendar year, we did verifications of about 250. We had to cluster the leaders and say, well, we are now going to take accounting officers or heads of institutions, of ministries, departments, and agencies, and just, look at those, because these are the holders of big votes when it comes to managing accounts out there. So we then do progressive verifications within the minimum resources, and as we get the resources, so we then have to cut the coat according to the cloth that we have. So this is where we have a challenge as the Inspectorate of Government, and we call for a lot of support, especially from the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament and members of Parliament, to support the Inspectorate and improve our vote so that we are able to do thorough work when it comes to verifications. It's about declaration. Is it a secret between the IG and the public? Declaration of assets and incomes and liabilities is not a secret affair, and that is why we get to engage with you, our friends from the Fourth Estate, because you want as much publicity to remind leaders of their obligations to declare. And who are we talking about? We're talking about leaders, the political leaders as provided for within the second schedule of the Constitution, the appointed leaders, the heads of institutions, and so on. And everybody every leader who obtains emoluments from the Consolidated Fund from Government of Uganda is supposed to declare. And it is not a secret. It is not a secret, and that is why we have come here to declare publicly. It is not a secret at all when it comes to issues to do with declarations. Declarations in the regions. And is there honesty? How do we promote honesty in the declarations? This is basically done still again through the awareness creations. But maybe to let you know, the Inspectorate of Government has created a lot of awareness. We have trained the focal point persons in the different ministries, departments, and agencies, and we have our regional technical team who are there to guide people who may have challenges when it comes to issues to do with declarations. So it is something where we expect people to know what to do, because it is an online system and anyone can access our online system in whichever part of the world as long as they have access to internet. How do we ensure that there is honesty? I think we need to continue talking about our national values as well, so that Ugandans know about the value of truthfulness, about honesty, about integrity, accountability, and so on. And these are the principles which help in the fight against corruption. Just to remind people that you need to be as truthful in everything, in anything that you do, especially when you're a leader and representing the people out there. You need to have some degree or level of truthfulness. So this is basically what we are doing. And for breach of the code, failure to submit correct information is punishable within the law, within Section 6 of the Leadership Code. Where we see that there is conflict of interest, still again, it is punishable within the law. Failure to declare interest. There are some people who have interests and they do not declare. That is provided for within Section 9. And then also acceptance of prohibited gifts and failure to declare the same to the IG. There are times when leaders do receive gifts of a certain value, and if it is beyond 5 currency points, we expect that leader should walk in the light and come to the Inspectorate of Government and declare. We look at the intention. Why was the gift given to that leader? For what purpose? Was it a traditional marriage ceremony and he got an animal? Or they're just giving him this gift to influence his decisions or position as a leader? So we expect that these gifts are declared to the Inspectorate of Government.
Well, that is declaration of wealth publicly with the Inspector General of Government, that is Patricia Achan Okiria. And of course, expectation of 34,000 declarations, and of course, also talking about the verification in the process. And of course, she's been talking about quite some of the greatest challenges in there when it comes to the verification, the human resource, the manpower, and all that, which is really involved to ensure that the exercise is a success. Jora, you had a look at that, declaration. It wasn't made publicly, they just exchanged files.
Of course, my issue has always been the fact that we've mentioned transparency. They've mentioned the word transparency in here, and there is literally no transparency.
Yeah.
If you are talking transparency and we don't know what is in the files,
or they don't know what the word means.
There has been declaration. We should just call it declaration. And of course, they've declared the wealth. That is good, and we can't rule that out. But the element of transparency is off the graph. But anyway, it's still a good move to declare wealth. At least that way we know that someone is using their money or using money coming off their assets that they have that are entirely lessly attached
to the political position.
Yeah, or to their political position. So, and of course, that is what is most especially something we would wish continues happening within the country.
Like in Kenya.
Of course, for the Kenyan perspective was an entire broadcast, which I don't believe can happen here, not until we streamline one or two things.
All right.
But anyway, nevertheless, many thanks for being part of the show today. Today is the 7th. Tomorrow will be a special one, as it will be the Women's Day edition of Smart Men's Business. Women in business, women in power, women in leadership roles, women who are driving different agendas to change society and shape up the world that we're living in today. Well, you can be one, or you have been one of those, and you can entirely be part of the other women and the rest of it. I'm Jerome Paul Soka with Barija Andrew in here. Until tomorrow, have a blessed day. Good morning.